Here we are, here, got 2 packets arrived, so just have a quick look. The first one's come from Toplicht in Hamburg. Let's have a look, should be some screws in here. Nice packed. Okay, that's what you get. Now, one thing Toplicht do, on their order forms, there's a little box you cross if you want their catalogue, and I never cross it, and I always get their catalogue. Anyhow, whatever. Here's our screws. So 50. So let's see if I can put them against something lighter. 50 bronze screws. Can you see that? The 50mm long bronze screws. What I'm going to do with these is I'm going to put them down the stem and the stern post evenly spaced out, so roughly speaking a dozen either side, down the stem and down the stern post, just to give that a bit of extra oomph. So that's there, that's the screws that have arrived. And then this box here has arrived from Benke, as you can probably tell. The box is a bit damaged, so in fact it's split open there. It's quite heavy. It does say here in German that if it's damaged you should speak to the delivery person, but we weren't at home when the delivery person left it, so that's impossible. Let's see what happens, see what it looks like. Have a look what's in here. So that is 25 metres of 15 centimetre 6-inch wide band that I'm going to use for around the chine and whatever. That's some little rollers for spreading epoxy. That looks to be fine. Then this all looks good actually. This is 2 5 kilos of resin and 2 3/4 kilos of hardener. That's a nice lot of resin. Take that out of the way. And here, yes, it's all in fine condition. This is 50 square metres of 6-ounce cloth for covering the hull. So that all looks good, it's all in fine condition, no problem. Please, so that's all arrived. What's going on at the moment is that I'm just planing up the top there, around here where the board's hung out a little bit, so I'm evening that out. We'll round it off after that and getting it ready for this. Well, first of all the tape around the joints, and then we'll get this on. Okay, so I'd like to talk about what I've done. So, as you know, the planking's finished, and the job at the moment is preparing to glass the hull, or last little bits here and there. And I've done a few things this week. It's been busy, but in a way they're not very exciting things. But anyhow, the first thing I did, if you look up, Kerry, the first thing I did was, you'll see that I planed off that overhang that was there. So yeah, you can scan slowly around and you'll see that that's all planed off and smooth. Good, come back around this way. Very nice. And I put a radius on there. So what I did is I planed it with the little Stanley block plane, which I have to say that Stanley block plane was a tooltip, wasn't it, ages ago. But the more I use it, the more I like it. It's fantastic. So I planed this radius with the block plane and finished it off with the orbital sander. Went round there, it's looking good. And with that radius, in 1 or 2 places, I could try to just sort of improve the shape a little bit. The shape has come out well. I'm happy. It's got, it's handmade, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We can come down this way, Kerry. And maybe you could go up on that horse very carefully and then just have a little scan along the line of the chine there, along this line here. Yeah, you see that radius and the shape of the boat is pretty good. It's pretty good. Good, then I'm going to come up here as well. Here we go, there's room for two of us. Then the next thing I did was I put a coat of epoxy on it. So I used a little 4-inch roller and rolled a coat of epoxy on the entire hull, just to seal the ply. And yesterday I was up here and I sanded it, the bottom entirely, all the whole bottom's been sanded, some of the side, sanded it with the, if you look down this way, Kerry, with the trusty 3M sanding block. So I just went over it and it's come up lovely and smooth. This part of the hull I've done, you can feel that bit's not done, feels a bit like sandpaper. This bit really very smooth. So the epoxy raises the grain of the ply, seals the ply, raises the grain, and then, you okay there? Yeah. Raises the grain, seals the ply, and then when you sand it over, you've got a sealed, smooth finish. And then I will, this week, I will get in and roll another coat over there, just so it's completely sealed. So I'm happy that it's completely sealed, and then sand it one more time before it's glassed. Good. The next thing I've done is, if you look in here, Kerry, you'll see I've put this groove down there. I just ran down, as you can tell it's a bit wobbly, ran down there with a router, with a pointed router bit. It's at 90 degrees the point. I've run down there freehand, and that's the board joint that I've run down. And let me just reach behind you, Kerry. There we go. Trusty ruler. So that's about 8 millimeters. So I've only gone about 4 millimeters deep. It's 90 degrees, obviously, so each side's at 45 degrees. About 4 millimeters deep, 8 wide, the nature of the beast. And the idea here is that, first of all, I'll paint it out with some wet epoxy. And then when that's tacky or sticky, I'll fill that with epoxy and microfibers. And that'll do away with any, the board joints were really quite good, but I want it to flow from one board to the next perfectly, so there's no straight line of board joint there. And that's the thinking behind that. So I've done that at every single board joint, and I should go around, as I say, wet it out with epoxy, and then fill it with microfibers and epoxy, give it a sand off afterwards. But there's something come up in a comment on the Junk Rig Association forum this week. It's not a major thing, but filling has to be done in a way that you really have as little as possible to sand. And I think it's quite a skill. My brother's a plasterer, and you know, I don't claim to be a plasterer, I'm pretty rotten at it, but I've worked with him, I've watched him work, and you know, you get ideas of how to do these things as smoothly as possible, and you pick up a few ideas, and so the filling, I would try to get it as flush as possible so that I really don't have much to sand off. Anyhow, so that's done, the grooves are all done, every single board joint is done. I've been around the entire hull and filled over screw holes and the nail heads. So these are nail heads that are filled over. You can see, it needs a sand, but other than that, I haven't sanded it yet. It's flush. That's the filler. There's almost nothing to sand. The other advantage of filling all the nail heads, I'm running there, they're really flush. Filling all the nail heads is that you find whether any of them are standing out proud, because proud is really what you don't want. And I did find 3 that were proud, so I've given them a bit of a after adjustment with the impact applying tool, otherwise known as a hammer. Give them a whack with a hammer and then filled those. And that might lead me into a little tool story, because you know I like a tool story. Let me talk about this. Stay there, Kerry. You're good. The light's okay, is it, at this angle? Yeah. Good. So, long time ago, that could be the start of a song. I think we're talking 1987-ish, give or take. You know, I needed a new hammer, and I bought a Sandvik hammer with a fiberglass shaft, and I loved that hammer. I did so much work with it. It was, you know, it was my favourite tool probably. It was balanced. It was brilliant. I used it. The lever end. I used it the ways no hammer should be treated. I heaved and hoved on the thing, and I lifted all sorts of things that shouldn't be done with such a hammer. And it did it until eventually one day I pushed it too far. This is 2-3 years ago. So that hammer did unbelievable quantities of work. Eventually the shaft gave up and it broke. So firstly I was distraught, and secondly I thought, well, I've got to get another one. So I went online, and there they are on Amazon. Sandvik. Now, I'm no Swedish industrial expert, but as far as I can tell, Sandvik have changed their name, or at least changed the name of their tools to Barco. Does it say Barco or Banco? I don't know, Barco, I think. Seems to be the same thing, but so I bought the Barco. It's basically exactly the same hammer. I think the shaft on the Sandvik was a little bit more refined. Just a smidgen more refined, but other than that, it's the same hammer. And so I replaced it with the trusty Barco fiberglass shafted hammer, and it's brilliant. If this one lasts, what was the last one? Best part of 30 years old, wasn't it? Over 25 years old. If this one does the same sort of lifetime and the same amount of work, I will be very happy. And I cannot recommend these highly enough. The Sandvik or Barco or whatever they're called. Is it Banco? I don't know, it could be Banco, it's hard to read. Whatever they're called. Them hammers, they're brilliant. The amount of loading that shaft takes is unbelievable. Anyhow, there we go. Next thing we did, walk this way, Kerry. You have to come in on that end. Can you get in there? So I put a piece of mahogany up there to cover the end grain of the ply. There's in fact two pieces. It's joined in the middle to get the width. You see it needs a little bit of filler in one or two places, but run that round there. Stand back and get the line of that. It looks really quite beautiful. It will, of course, later on be covered with glass and epoxy, so nobody ever see it be painted. But it's very, very nice. Nailed it on with the bronze, silicone bronze ring nails, epoxy glued in place. So that's done. And then one more time back up this end. The final thing that we've done, I have done in prep, is to put a radius on the stern post end. Oh no, I've forgotten something. So that's radiused and sealed with epoxy. The final thing I did that I've forgotten to tell you about was I put on each end, each side, each end, 12 of those bronze screws, 50mm 2-inch bronze screws. Got 12 down there, 12 down there, and at the front end, the bow, same thing, 12 and 12 down there. So for me, that makes it, just makes it that much more secure with those good mechanical fixings through to the stern post and through to the stem. The stern post is pretty protected because the rudder hangs on there, obviously, so the chances of banging the stern post are fairly slim. But the bow end, obviously, you could run in there and you don't want it splitting apart. So I've got those, what I believe to be good, strong mechanical fixings down there, and I'm happy. You know, she sounds really solid, feels really solid. The bottom of that 30mm, what's that? It's a bit over an inch and an eighth, is it? Thickness. Must a bit more than that, inch and a quarter thickness on the bottom. Feels really solid, strong. And perhaps the last thing we'll say in this video is that when you build these boats, you really realise what a great job Jay Benford, I always call him Mr. Benford, don't I? Respect. What a great job Jay Benford's done designing these boats. If you look at the boats that have been built, quite a few of them have undertaken a lot of ocean sailing, done a lot of ocean miles. They're clearly capable boats, and they're really very easy to build. So designing a capable ocean-going sailboat that's really quite easy to build, that's credit to the man. What a great job he's done. Fun to build, easy to build, and all the evidence suggests that they're great ocean-going sailing boats. So yeah, well done. Good work. And there we'll leave it for this week. Cut.
Riches in the sunset, standing at the sea. Tell me where you're going so decisively. What's your destination? Tell me where you're bound. We can move together where adventures abound. Running free before the breeze.